today in the evening is the press conference that the acting CID boss addressed, talking about the Takoradi missing girls. It's been about a year or so since the first girl went missing. We did not know where they were. About a couple of weeks later, the second girl followed, then the third girl followed. We even understand there was a fourth girl who was also kidnapped. And the nation was up in arms. The families of these missing girls were up in arms. The police came in to investigate the matter, and all kinds of things happened when the investigations were going on. All kinds of things were also said in the media while the investigations were going on, and finally it landed in what we saw yesterday. But you remember the time when the CID boss, Madam Tiwa Adodankwa, addressed the press conference saying that they know where the girls are and they are going to find the girls? You remember that? Let's take a look at it.
It's taking us over 3 months to even identify where the ladies are. And what we don't want to do is to do anything that will jeopardize the safety of that. So we are working very hard. All stakeholders who are supposed to be on board are on board. And hopefully the girls will be brought back safe and sound.
She came under a lot of fire after she said this, that you know where the girls are. So if you know where the girls are, why have we not found the girls yet? There was a lot of uproar. People were calling for her head. People were calling for her to be fired and all of that. And in reaction to all the calls that were coming for her to be fired, then she went on a TV station, Atika TV, I think, and then she said she was trying to give some sort of hope to the families and to Ghanaians that the police are working and they will find the girls. Take a look.
So if there's something a damakumaso, there me finding out say your best solve that issue. Me me relax ye, dear say ye biano, and yamin kwa, me name me officers, obia or kahun, ye gusua ye. Minim say ene ya etiwe me greatest adie be ma me ho aba me ho so mani bechi se me so emayo insa yakase Ghana for emai na de o mabe. That is me topmost priority. Ayade a ewopa. But having said that, enye enipa baako ena yesade no 18 work enya me nko a enti ye nae ye relax ye Yegusu all the logistics are here. I see the bay Jumani Biano. Yenya Yegusu means me can say and or a china from the world go. Something that be a one no send me here way near the amount. Open say we near the amount. Say Ebia yeso ye bu baby say o twe ade na maya na bibi kitem na de kro na ekitem no nya ade a ye just say enkitemu forever yegusu a ye twe obi a se oboa bia wom obi a logistics a hia ewom sidia na me beka sa no we na me pese me ma enkranhye hope. So yes say enya ade a ya da na emom no ye move forward from when na ye word dada no maybe either say any panti ase ye and omoche ma no si bone but ye na ye da ye gusu pa ye de say ye bia enti no timelines na minti me found so say na so ochina but ye gusu aye adwumaden pa.
So that was the explanation that was given by the CID boss, trying to give some hope that they've moved forward on the case. And then yesterday, we witnessed the press conference, and we're going to play that for you. But before we play the press conference that was organized by the police yesterday, addressed by the acting IGP, let's go to the phone line now and speak to Dr. Raymond Afuakwa. He is a forensic science expert at the University of Cape Coast. And he'll give us some insights into exactly what should happen moving forward now that the DNA testing from the police confirms that these girls are dead. Doc, good morning. Welcome to GH Today.
Yeah, good morning, Lansam.
Thank you very much for taking time to speak to us today. Are you satisfied with the press conference that was organized yesterday by the police, given the results of the DNA tests?
Thank you, Lantam. And I think first and foremost, I would like to correct the name. It's not Raymond, it's Richmond. Yes.
Very well, very well. Thank you.
Yeah. And then regarding the press conference, before I talk about the press conference, I would like to express my condolence once again to the family who is bereaved now. And I think the nation is in grief. The whole nation, we are in grief, and the family members more especially. And it is right for us at this time to express our condolences to the family members. Then going forward, the press conference, the satisfaction or otherwise, I think what has come out now is for us to understand that there has been a turning point in this case. And this is the time we will have to sit and ask ourselves a lot of questions. From the time this case started to this point in time where we are saying that the girls have been identified, I think a lot has happened, and it is about time we interrogated all these and arrive at proper conclusions.
Now, Doc.
So I won't talk about satisfaction or otherwise regarding the press conference. I mean, I'm not an expert in press conferences, but when it comes to the work the police has done,
yeah,
I think the police, they have done themselves some good, bringing this matter to the point they have brought it. You know that in other jurisdictions, in other advanced jurisdictions, some of these cases actually grow cold. We have to be careful to ascribe appreciation where it's due. Some of these cases can easily grow cold. You know, we have reached a point in our development where crime has become extremely sophisticated. The criminals are always ahead of the law enforcement agencies. You understand? And once such criminal activities are done, I mean, the criminals try to cover their footprints from day one. It becomes very difficult, therefore, for law enforcement agencies to be able to unravel these criminal cases. So once the police has been able to do this within as much as a little over a year, from my point of view, coming from the Department of Forensic Sciences, I would say that they have done the police has done some good. I mean, there are a lot we can interrogate and question regarding the totality of the work the police did. And I think going forward, we must do that so that whenever there is any such case or any related issue, the police can be more professional than they were in this at this time. But going forward, I think we shouldn't lambast the police too much, because in other jurisdictions, these cases can easily go cold. You understand?
Yeah.
Because imagine a situation where the guys who have been arrested insisted that these girls are alive. You understand? Knowing clearly very well that they are not. I mean, from all indications now, you know that the girls have not been alive for a very long time. And these criminals insisted that they are alive. You know, if you are the police officer handling this case, with the kind of tools the police work with, it will be very difficult for you to be able to tell exactly what has happened to the girls. So for me, I think it's a breakthrough, and it shows that the nation is developing, and the fact that we've been able to use forensic science to bring this matter to the point where it is actually gives me some hope for the future.
Now, looking at how the entire DNA testing was conducted from the point where they found the remains to the point where they decided to do the testing, and the time that has elapsed right up till yesterday when we were given the results, or we were told the results. As a forensic expert, looking at how all of that played out, is it a good job that the police did?
Yes, I think we are narrowing the narrative on DNA. This is the situation where the human remains that were found were actually there was some level of putrefaction, or let me say some level of decomposition, and what was found was mostly bones. In such a case, you don't go straight to do DNA, but right from the day the bones were found, we all were interested about DNA. Of course, because we watch a lot of foreign movies and then we see all these DNA things. But then the process didn't begin with the DNA. The process will begin with trying to allot the bones to, if you find some bones and you can clearly identify 3 skulls, you can tell that the bones belong to 3 individuals. You don't mismatch the bones. The bones, there are so many bones in the body. So the first step is to try to arrange the bones in such a way individuals' bones are all put together. The first find was there were 3 bones. So they had to first foremost allot the bones and make sure that an individual's bones are put together, making up the 3 different individuals. Before they go into the process of elimination. The process of elimination here is that the bones were put around the Uditek's place of abode, or former place of abode. So now they have to eliminate the girls. You understand? And to do that, you first will have to identify the bones and make sure that they are bones of girls. You have to check the bones and check the age of the bones. You have to check the bones and do other things. You understand? Before you are satisfied, if you are sure that these are bones of girls, these are bones of people in the age range of the missing girls, then you are sure that, yes, you are point direction. It could be the girls. And then you go in for a conclusive investigation, which is the DNA. It makes it quite conclusive. The DNA is expensive. So you don't first and foremost jump to doing the DNA analysis. If they are bones of males, you'll be chasing you'll be engaging in a goose chase. You understand? So what happens, a wild goose chase, what happens then is that these steps would have to be followed. And then finally you come to the DNA. And the DNA is not just a straightforward process. You don't start and finish the day you started. You need to go through the process of DNA extraction. You need to go through the process of DNA amplification. You need to go through the process of either restriction fragment length polymorphism or sequencing. And then you need to do that also for the family members and then match. And I have always said this, that the kind of materials we found, which are bones, are not materials that any lab would do routine DNA extraction from. I am particularly happy that the Ghana Police Service Forensic Lab was able to successfully isolate DNA from the bones. Bones that were found in, I think, suspicious tanks or something. For a very long time, they have been there. With the kind of heat the bones were subjected to, the level of decomposition tells you that there was some heat in the tanks. All these can compromise the quality of DNA. But if the police service was able to extract DNA, amplify them, and then match this DNA to that of the family members, that from where I am standing, it is thumbs up for the police.
Now, with all the processes that you've described, and as regards what you know as the capability of the Ghana Police Service in that area, in the area of forensics, should the families have any reason to doubt what the police are saying now, or the test results that the police have put out there?
Of course, it is within the right of the family to doubt the police. Nobody can take that right from them. But the good thing here is that the police is saying that these are the remains of the girls.
So what should happen?
The family,
What should happen now that the families are not entirely happy, with these results that have come out? Should they call for independent forensics?
So if they doubt, that is what I'm saying, that the good thing here is that police didn't say these are not the remains of the girl. If the police said these are not the remains of the girl, that is when it becomes problematic. But here, police is saying these are the remains of them. So it's easier for the family. Of course, if they are remains of our family members, we are entitled to the remains. Then the family members can have a second opinion. You understand? If these were not the remains of the girls, then the family members were not entitled to the remains. And then they couldn't tell whether indeed the remains were the girls or not. So I am actually very happy for the family. They can bring this matter to their own finality, their own conclusion.
So should they call for an independent DNA testing of the remains?
It is within their right. It is within their right. Of course, if they are not satisfied, they think that the police didn't do well with the work they did, they could go for the bones. Of course, the samples the police took, the samples are still there. They could go for the samples, give to an independent body to do this, and get the results. Whether it will confirm it or not, I think it stands to be known.
Okay.
Later on. And I think the family should calm down now. The result that the police has brought out is actually in their favor. No matter how sore the information seems, it's in their favor. They can have the bones. They can actually do their own investigation. This case has been a case of a sensitive nature. I'm sure even if they don't have the capacity to do that, there will be philanthropists who will easily assist them in doing these investigations.
All right.
To bring this matter to a conclusion.
Okay. Thank you very much, Doc, for speaking to us this morning here on the show.
Sure. Thank you very much, Lanson.
Dr. Richmond Afuakwa is the head of the forensics department at the University of Cape Coast, speaking to us this morning here on the show about the news that broke out yesterday. But let's take a look at that press conference addressed by the acting IGP yesterday.
Officers of the Ghana Police Service informed 4 families in Takoradi in the Western region of Ghana that DNA tests conducted on some human remains discovered in the course of police investigations into the disappearance of 4 missing girls have turned positive as the remains of the girls. The Ghana Police Service has, with regret, therefore informed the families that the remains are those of Ruth Abaka, Priscilla Blessing Bintu, Ruth Love Kwezi, and Priscilla Kranche. Investigations now established that the girls were victims of a serial kidnapping and murdering syndicate that operated in the Takoradi area. While for various reasons we are unsuccessful in obtaining and acting on accurate, actionable intelligence in good time to enable us to rescue the girls, we believe that the arrest of the culprits has effectively thwarted the ability of this syndicate to have continued with further kidnappings and murders. Now, I'll proceed to look at the sequence of disappearances of the girls. Miss Abeka went missing the 29th day of July 2018. The second victim, Miss Priscilla Bintu, went missing on the 15th day of August 2018. Then on the 4th of December 2018, Miss Ruth Love Kwesi, the third girl, was reported missing. The disappearance of the 4th victim, Miss Priscilla Mantibia Kranchi, was on 21st December 2018. On the 22nd day of December 2018, one day after the disappearance of Mantibia, the police was able to track the number through which some ransom had been paid. This led to the arrest of suspect Samuel Odiotuk West to assist with the investigation. Samuel West later escaped from police custody on the 30th of December 2018, but was rearrested 3 days later in an uncompleted building at Nkrofo, which is a suburb of Takoradi. He has been convicted for escaping from lawful custody and brought to the CID, and he was brought to the CID headquarters where upon interrogation he admitted that he, together with suspects John Orji and John Shika, kidnapped the young girls and sent them by road to a location in Nigeria known as Baby Factory in Anambra State. He however denied knowledge of the whereabouts of Ruth at the camp. The evaluation of this confession and other intelligence reports from Nigeria on the location and modus operandi of this baby factory culminated in an assessment by the investigation team at this stage that they had a fair idea of the location of the girls and that it would be possible to bring them home. Between April and July 2019, several surveillance operations were mounted in Onitsha, Awka, Port Harcourt, and Calabar in Nigeria. These were locations where suspect Samuel Oduatukwu emphatically mentioned at different times as places where the girls were sent, and directed investigation teams too, with the hope of tracing and rescuing the girls.
So the acting IGP there yesterday addressing that press conference, telling us the details of the investigations that were conducted by the police, which eventually led them to doing the DNA testing, that is after uncovering the remains, and then confirming that indeed the remains found are the girls. Once again, we just want to offer our condolences to the family. But my guests are in the studio, like I mentioned earlier. Nana Damwa is a member of the NPP, and he is also the PRO for the Energy Ministry. Nana, good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
It's been a tiring day, but we're on it.
Yeah. It's already tiring for you. That's at 7:22. It's already tiring for you.
It's a myriad of issues, and there's always something to do in the energy sector. It's always a very difficult place to be. I've been up for quite a while already, and we hope to, do the best to ensure that the lights are kept on and transportation is kept moving.
Interesting.
And people, and Mr. Jantoa here, who is a very senior member, is helping us, but sometimes too. He knows what I'm talking about.
But you forgot to say it's oil too is flowing.
Mr. Jantoa is the CEO for the Africa Center for Energy Consortium. He's also president of the AGI, Oil and Gas Sector.
Chairman,
I beg your pardon, of the AGI Oil and Gas Sector, and also a member of the CPP, and he's in the news for talking about some 51% PDS. We'll talk about that one later, but good morning, Mr. Johnson.
Good morning.
Yeah, how you doing?
After all the barrage of phone calls I've got from within Ghana, without Ghana, from abroad, so many phone calls yesterday. And so I guess one needs to clarify whatever comments I have made so that there is peace. I'm not a combative person. I'm not somebody who likes combat, but I'd like to clarify the meaning of the comments I made. And I think it's a good platform.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that at the tail end of the discussion. But let's for now stay on. No, we'll come to it. We'll come to it. Yeah, we'll come to it. Don't worry. At the tail end of the discussion, we'll come to it. By 8:10, we'll have gotten into it. But I want us to begin with what we've just been talking about. I just spoke to Dr. Richmond Afuakwa at the UCC. The family, this morning, we spoke to one of the family members of one of the girls who have been confirmed dead. They are not entirely happy. They said they are going to come out with a press conference. They don't like how the police have handled the whole matter. But do you believe that with this press conference, begin with you, Nana Damwa, finality should be brought to the matter and should be laid to rest?
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I think that, it's, first of all, it's a very sad thing. It's a very sad thing. I cannot imagine having to lose a relative, a friend, a child through a means like this. It's a very, very sad measure. And this morning, as a country, we are all mourning this occurrence. The fact that someone, a foreigner, was able to come into our country and perpetrate such acts with whatever syndicate it is that he had, it's a very, very sad reality. I cannot begin to think, let alone try to understand what the mothers of these children are going through, what the fathers, what the family members of these children are going through. The handling of the entire case to be very honest and objective, was not the best. Several accounts, different accounts, too many U-turns. It doesn't present a coordinated and reassuring approach to dealing with these matters. I do not think that anybody can try to pass that off as the best that the Ghana Police Service could have done. And we need to admit that there were several mistakes that were made, and moving forward, we need to ensure that those mistakes are never, ever, ever repeated again in this country. But in all of this, at least we can take consolation in the fact that this did not become a cold, unsolved case. We have managed to get to some conclusion in this matter, pending the reaction of the family members. And this morning, there's some conflicting media reports to what is happening, because I've heard that some, family members of some of the girls have said that they accept the conclusion that the police has reached, and they leave the matters into the hands of God. We are also hearing different versions, that some families are saying that they are not at peace with what has happened, and they doubt the credibility of the investigation that the Ghana police has done. So the resolution of that piece of the jigsaw is critical, but it hasn't been the best. We could have done better. We have reached some sort of a conclusion. This is not a cold case, pending the reaction of the family members, and we need to close all of this nicely, and then most importantly, fail forward on this matter. What I mean by fail forward is that we should learn from these mistakes, undertake a retrospective evaluation of what has happened, and learn from the lessons of the mistakes that we have made, so that we get bigger and better in these matters. There are also so many other issues that this raises. Our immigration service and our policies regarding immigration, are they actually working? Our security services and controls, our checks, how come all of this went, unnoticed? Our community watch and our community policing and our citizen awareness. I've seen a new campaign, if you see something, say something. How is it working? Our police rapid response teams and our call centers, how are all of these things going to work together to ensure that we do not ever get to this point again? Those are the matters that I believe we need to critically look at. Let us once again take this opportunity to say that, express our condolences to the bereaved families. I struggle to imagine what must be going on now. And we'll plead also with all of us that even as we continue to make commentary on these matters, let's be sensitive to the feelings of the grieving family. I do not know what I would have done if it was a family member.
If you were in their shoes.
I don't know.
Mr. Jantua, what do you have to say about this? Finality brought to the matter?
Good morning. It's not an easy situation whatsoever at all. If you consider the duration of time it's taken to get to this point, and what the family has been through this duration of time, it can't be easy. Going to bed at night, waking up in the morning, thinking my child is out there somewhere, not knowing where the child is. It's not an easy thing to do. And so definitely, psychologically, it can affect the family. Now, the one thing that really baffles my imagination is how people can be wicked. So, this gentleman who was caught, he knew all along that they had killed the girls and put them in a septic tank, and even no matter how he was forced to speak the truth, he kept quiet. I believe where the police is concerned, they acted on intelligence. They acted, I think I heard the IGP talk about it, they acted on information they got that the girls could have been sent to Nigeria to a baby factory. And so they acted on that. And unfortunately, the way it was communicated, in the end, made the police look as if they weren't doing their job. But God being so good, unexpected thing happened, that they went into the house and somebody said, well, let's check the septic tank. But the question also comes to mind. At the time that they did the first search of the house, why didn't they search the septic tank?
That's a very interesting question, and I want you to hold that thought for a bit, and we'll take a quick break. But before we do that, though, let me remind you that Jeanette Services is presenting the 2019 edition of the Women in Worship Trinity Experience, and it's on Sunday, September 22nd, 2019, and it's at the Action Chapel Dome. We've been advertising it. Don't miss it for anything in the world. There's going to be powerful female gospel ministrations, talking about Reverend Ifueko Chemiren, Cece Chum, Cindy Thompson, Daughters of Glorious Jesus, Diana Hamilton, all the way from Nigeria, Mercy Chinwo. Tickets 50 Ghana cedis regular, 90 cedis double, 100 cedis VIP. So go to Airport Shell, Batrona Total, Community 11, 1 and 2 Shell, or kindly contact 024-88-10396. And the event is brought to you by NASCO Electronics, ATL, Better Malt, Calamax, Awake Mineral Water, Hollard Assurance, Imani Impression, BTL Africa, AH Hotel, and the Action Chapel. And of course, media partners is the EIB Network. It's at 4 p.m., so make sure you don't miss it for anything in the world. We'll be back after this. Don't go anywhere.
USA is here. For 10 years, we have bridged the gap between Africa and the diaspora, honoring those who have broken social, economic, and political barriers to put the motherland on the pedestal. Today, we are proud to open a new chapter with Guba Awards USA under the theme African Diaspora, the catalyst for growth and innovation. Guba Awards USA takes place on Thursday, 26 September at the Pierre Hotel, New York, USA. Time 6 p.m. prompt. Special guests include His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic of Ghana, as well as heads of state from Madagascar, Guinea, Burkina Faso, and the President of the ECOWAS Commission. Guba Awards USA 2019 is co-sponsored. Media partners. For sponsorship, advertising, exhibition, and tickets to attend, call 0548-966-213. Email marketing@gubaawards.co.uk or visit www.gubausa.com. Guba Awards USA is powered by Guba Enterprise and proudly title sponsored by Samara Company Limited, producers of Sasso Insecticide Spray.
Ago na me Ghana video akoda do fe electoral commission gbe kwadem akoda gban hehede go I ajogoma cho bladagbe in September jungu fa keke awagbe pasade bladagbe in September jungu fa keke wi adragbe le for 2019 yama cho ndi ga adran pasade to ga dan ameyo kata nglon ko cho for 2012 pasade 2019 na va kweba yo fan call akoda gban ma professor de bubuao why you akoda gban vi in your voters ID card but na won ko jina cho na okaba na wa gban vi abu han atanwa yi ave di on call akoda gban ma yide wa akoda fa na wa pa ofode na makwaku hibubu gbonao vana kpekpedan hana shi totonyu akodagbalan to amayinugbo fankodededa la akodagbalan cho amadigbalan aloku gbalan da ashi achofian ba wana akodagbalan na ko vana kpekpedan ba akodagbalan na no jaje ba akodaya amana ko chito don kujiba akodagbalan hele go ajagoma cho bladagbe in September jungu keke awagbe pasere September jungu keke wi adragbe inya bladagbe la for 2019 niama cho ndiga adran vastere retro garden.
First was the unlimited worship experience, which saw the pouring of hearts to God in worship. Jeanette Services presents the 2019 edition of Women in Worship. themed The Trinity Experience. Come Sunday, September 22nd, 2019. All roads lead to the Action Chapel Dome for a thundering praise and worship experience with powerful female gospel minstrels of our time. The legendary Cindy Thompson, Cissy Troom, the evergreen Daughters of Glorious Jesus, 2019 VGMA Gospel Artist of the Year, Diana Hamilton, and all the way from Nigeria, the Jesus You Love Me Too Much hitmaker, Mercy Chinwo. Tickets are going for 50 Ghana Cedis regular, 90 Ghana Cedis double, and 100 Ghana Cedis VIP. Gates open at 4 p.m. sharp. This event is brought to you by Nasco Electronics, ATL, Bettermalt, Color Max, Awake Mineral Water, Hollard Assurance, Imani Impressions, BTL Africa, AH Hotel, and Action Chapel. Media partners. Further information, call 055-774-7977. Women in Worship.
Ago, my people, the Electoral Commission announces that the exhibition of the Voters Register comes off from Tuesday, 10 September to Tuesday, 17 September 2019 from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. All those who registered from the 2012 up to 2019 registration exercises should go in person to their polling stations to check if their names and particulars have been properly captured in the register. Go with your voter's ID card to facilitate fast checking of names. If you have lost your ID card, you should still go and check. Go to the polling station and have all your complaints resolved. Help ensure a clean and credible voters register by helping to remove names of deceased relatives. Come along with burial, death or obituary notice to help clean up the register. Let us help clean up the voters register to ensure free and fair election. Remember, the exhibition of the voters register comes off from Tuesday, 10th September to Tuesday, 17th September 2019 from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily.
Still watching GH3 on GH1 television. I'm Lantam Papanko. In the studio with me, Mr. Kwame Jantwa, CEO for Africa Center for Energy Consortium, and also Chairman, AGI Oil and Gas Sector. And another one is spokesperson for the Energy Ministry, member of the NPP. Mr. Jantwa, you were making a comment there before I had to come in and go for the break. I want you to
remind me
to finish on the comments. We're talking about the forensics that were conducted, and you were saying it's quite unfortunate that they didn't think about going to the house to go and search earlier, even thinking about even searching the septic tank.
They did go to the house to go and search, but they didn't
think to look into the septic tank.
Yeah. And I think it's every investigator should be able to, think beyond the box and do these types of things. Because, look, you're dealing with people's emotions. And people's emotions can go AWOL at any given time when they don't have results to a situation like this. With regards to the culprits, as I said, I don't understand how people can be that wicked. Why at the point in time they couldn't just say, yes, we killed the girls and this is where they are. And they've allowed us to go through this harrowing experience. It's quite sad. In as much as I'm not in preference of the word Nana used as foreigners.
Yeah.
They are our brothers. Nigerians are our brothers, whatever the case is. We are all West Africans. And right now, with the free trade area that is coming into being, with the fact that we're going to probably have one currency, is going to bring more of these things into our country. Because remember, Ghana is seen as a safe haven in West Africa. And people will come in here to either use this place as a hub to do other things in the region or in Africa, or come in and perpetrate these types of crimes. So, rightly said, as Nana indicated, we should beef up our immigration, we should beef up our police, we should beef up our army, we should beef up our borders with current technology and current building of capacity, so that we can handle some of these, crimes that are coming in. We never used to have kidnapping in this country. It's become very rampant. And this year alone, quite a lot of murders have taken place. Only yesterday, I heard 2 watchmen, I'm not sure whether it's Ashama or Tema, in some of that vicinity, have been killed. And parts of their bodies have been cut off.
Yeah.
Crime is going to increase, so we've got to be ready. And in being ready, it's not only the security services, but the people too. The people should be on alert at any given time and question at any given time. Look, I can only talk about the UK because only the UK I've lived in. And most times during the day, areas are very, very quiet. If somebody sees something that is untoward happening, the first thing they do in their house, they call the police. That's the first thing they do.
Because they've noticed some suspicious activity.
It could be somebody trying to break into a car. It could be somebody trying to break into a house. It could be somebody maltreating a child on the road. They call the police, and the police are there within seconds. We need to get to that point. Because if we don't, these things are likely to happen. And I hope that it's a lesson for us all. I hope the police would learn from this and beef up their own capacities so that families don't need to go through such situations again.
Now, let's move on to another issue. One very big talking point from yesterday. It's been going on for quite some time. Parents gathered at the Black Star Square or the Independence Square, and it's all because they were looking for placements for the awards in the various schools. Unfortunately, it looks like the computer placement system was compromised in a way. So at the time that parents and people who are trying to get into the system and self-place and also do other things as regards placement, they had certain placements, they go to the schools, and the schools turn them back because they tell them their names are not in the system. Parents went to the schools, their names were there. As they've been admitted to those schools, they were given prospectus to go and buy. They come back to the school only to be turned away, saying that a new list has come, their names are not in the system. And the myriad of other problems. There are people who say they live very far away, but they've been posted to day schools. So many problems, and it seemed very chaotic yesterday, and no one really was even able to get their issues solved yesterday because the GS officials at the Black Star Square were overwhelmed with the sheer numbers of people who came there to try and seek redress as far as all of these issues are concerned. In your estimation, Nana Damwa, what does this really mean for those at the CSSPs who are supposed to make sure that the integrity of these systems are always intact? And also given the fact that we've been doing computer placement for so long, so by now one would imagine that we should have bettered the system, if I can use that word, or perfected the system, not to see the levels of chaos that we saw yesterday at the Black Star Square as regards the CSSPs.
Thank you. Now, when you're hungry, it doesn't matter to you how many people have been fed. That's the truth. What happened at the Black Star Square yesterday is undesirable. It should have been avoided if we can avoid it. But governance is a continuity. It operates in a continuum. And we need to be able to understand that we need to constantly change to improve the systems that we have. Currently, what is happening is that over 400,000 people or students, are they students or pupils?
Students
have to be placed.
Their pupils when they are in primary school.
Now, my understanding is that over 411,000 of them have already been placed. There are some numbers of them that did not get school, but the majority of it, more than 90% of them, have been placed. There are issues that are coming up. My understanding is also that nobody has been placed in a school that he or she did not choose, which is a marked difference from what used to be the case in previous times. This time around, you have to choose your school, and if you don't get to school, then you are allowed to do self-placement and all of that. So I think these are good things. However, the challenges we are facing are also real. You have people who chose schools, who chose residential statuses, who now understand that no, these choices are no longer suitable. Also, you see, let's be honest, the availability of a solution center makes people feel that, well, if this is what I've gotten, I'm not so happy, and there's a place where I can go to for a solution of a sort, then I might as well take advantage of it and see what I can do. I myself have a very peculiar knowledge of this because I had someone come to me and show me his results. The first claim was that the results have been changed. And my question is, on what basis are you saying that the results have been changed? Because I wrote the BEC, and I don't know how. My first thing is results have been changed. Then came the computer placement system, and when he was placed, he came back and raised all sorts of issues. I said, okay, let's deal with it, let's go through the process. We are where we are now, let's not deny it. Moving forward, we need to solve these problems. I would plead that let's all understand that the system has been put in place and it will work. If we can have a little bit of patience and orderliness in how we do our things, I'm pretty sure that we will deal with all of these things. It's not the best. Let nobody try to say that this is the best system that we have had. No, it's not the best. We could have handled matters better. But this is where we are. Let's go through the process, resolve all of these issues. It's heartwarming to know that we received reassurances from the Ghana Education Service, from the Ministry of Education. The minister himself was leading the charge yesterday, explaining the matters to parents and their children alike. We've seen several other persons, the boss of the Ghana Education Service himself, the deputy director general in charge of access, were all out there yesterday trying to explain the matters to the people, and that's where I have, for instance, gotten my understanding of the system from. Let's go according to what the system says and ensure that these matters are resolved. Let's also improve the speed at which we are resolving these matters. It's heartwarming that at least this time around we have a solution center, a place where everybody can go. I do not understand where the confusion is coming from, because I understand that there are regional centers where everybody can come, but for some reason
everybody's at the Black Star
everybody's
Square.
coming to Accra, and I think we also need to look at it.
But did that information even go out there? I mean, how was the information
I have seen
disseminated
statements
that you can go to a regional center, maybe in Kumasi or in Tamale or
I have seen statements
or wherever?
I have seen statements on various platforms, and I believe that on these matters, interested parties pay particular attention to it and is there. But you see, there's a certain mentality also in Ghana that everything is Accra. So everybody wants to come to the center to ensure that they get to, and that is what is leading to overcrowding. I've seen stories of one or two persons having collapsed, but gratefully there was an ambulance to carry them, and medical attention has been given to them. But these situations shouldn't repeat themselves. Again, whenever there's a period of change, there's always these little things. It shouldn't have gotten to this magnitude. Let's not make any bones about it. But we are here.
And for the GS to tell us that their system was compromised to the extent that it was sabotaged, because the Ghana Education Service said that the self-placement model was sabotaged by bad people, resulting in the chaos. And according to the Deputy Director in charge of Quality and Access at the GS, Dr. Kwabena Tando, it was for that reason that the module was temporarily closed down. And reiterating the point that the students were placed on merit in accordance with the choice of school, Mr. Tando said that the system was intact, but then later on, some way, somehow, it was compromised and it had to be shut down, and people who were placed or who did the self-placement and were duly notified that they were placed, later went to the schools and they are told that they are not placed there and all of that. I mean, for how many years? What, 10 years or so we've been practicing this CSSPS? 16 years we've been practicing this CSSPS. Should this be happening now to the point where the thing can be compromised for people to be able to get into the system? Bad people, on quotes, to get into the system.
Let's remember that
to do all this.
It's the same system, but it's a different software.
Is it the same system? Different software.
Yes.
How new is this software?
Now, this software, I believe, was if I've heard, was introduced in 2018. Moving on to, and this is the first time perhaps that they are testing this on a large scale. Listen.
So it's not been tested on this magnitude before.
What is important is that these are the challenges of a developing country. Whatever it is, we are likely to get here. We are likely to face such challenges.
But what's even wrong with the old system?
When the computer placement system was first introduced,
yeah,
if you remember the sort of chaos that came into this country at the beginning of that process, it was something else.
But it got better
over time.
Yes.
And over time, we've also realized that that system, as it got better, also had certain embedded challenges that was leading to so many frustrations for so many people. With the introduction of free SHS, there were even greater burdens that were placed on the system, and we needed to reform the system to ensure that it is able to deliver what we wanted to deliver. Again, as is normal with developing countries, this change has thrown up certain challenges which we have to fine-tune, and we have to be hands-on, we have to be timeous and fine-tune the system to get rid of all of these problems and ensure that they do not occur again. This doesn't mean that the entire system has failed. Remember,
but what we saw, I mean, one can't help but come to that conclusion.
I agree with you.
And should we accept this, that it's normal, it's new system, and it will come with problems and all of. We have the benefit of hindsight with the implementation of the first one, which you have just mentioned. There were problems with.
I believe that I have been candid enough to sit here and tell you that this is not good. It should not have happened.
Okay,
that's one. The second thing is that now we are here. We need to deal with it quickly and expeditiously, tighten all the loopholes and ensure that parents get the kind of services that they expect from this program. Thirdly, after this challenge is done, we need to go back to the drawing board, identify this, evaluate it, and make changes to ensure that we do not get back to this place again.
Okay.
However, we also need to be honest with ourselves and admit that more than 90% of people have been placed successfully. So all I'm seeking to say is that they are huge challenges and we need to deal with it, but let's not throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Okay.
As well.
Very well.
We had challenges, and this is an attempt to deal with those challenges. That attempt has thrown up other challenges which we have to deal with, and deal with forcefully and timeously to ensure that they do not repeat themselves.
Okay.
But let's not also throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Very well.
I've heard some very disturbing comments, and I started by saying that if I'm hungry, it doesn't matter to me who else has had food. Because listen, at the end of the day, me sitting here to say that 90% of people have been, to those who are at the Black Star Square this morning, they don't care about that. What they want is my ward, my child, my brother, myself. We have not been placed.
Yeah.
And we need to work to ensure that these things are done. As a developing country, these challenges will come up. I think that the scale at which we are seeing it is unacceptable. Even the management of the solution center itself could have been improved. We needed to have, seen a lot more order. We needed to have seen a lot more coordination to ensure that when people get there, they know where to go and how to go about the system.
Yeah.
But when you put people in one place like that and there's not clear demarcation, okay, you've just come, you need to speak to these people. They will look at your form and advise you as to where to go and where not to go. How many people are responding to the complaints of the persons? Can we have 100 tables with people dealing with these matters? All of that. If we had planned those, I'm not sure that would have seen the level of chaos that we saw yesterday. But I'm sure that based on yesterday's experiences, you are likely to see a lot more changes, and we are going to be dealing with it. This is a developing country. That scale, no, it's not acceptable. But when these challenges come as well, let's take our time, let's be a little bit more patient, and demand of authority that the rightful things are done. I believe that the Honorable Matthew Opoku Prempeh and his deputy, Dr. Edichum, are very much on top of the ball. They would have seen what is happening. And believe you me, I'm very sure that from today, we'll begin to see improvements in the system.
Okay. Mr. Jantwa, what was your observation about all of this?
Unfortunately, I would not take the bit where Nana says this is a developing country. So some of these things we should give some chance because they would happen. Yes, we're a developing country, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't do things right. This thing has been running for 16 years. By now we should have done it to the letter T. And even if there are going to be problems aren't that massive. This has been chaotic. When mothers and parents were being interviewed at the Black Star Square, some were wailing, some were crying. We don't want that kind of thing. And Nana was talking about everybody was placed. They interviewed one gentleman on the radio.
Not everybody was placed. Well, about 90%.
90% was placed, sorry. 90% were placed, but everybody got the school they chose. But they interviewed a gentleman on Joy FM yesterday, and he said his ward was taken to I don't want to use that word, but school for disability children.
School of the deaf.
Yeah, the deaf.
It doesn't have any disability.
Doesn't have any disability. Yes. Can you imagine what the students are going through? There was one child who had an aggregate 11 and was denied the first choice place. I mean, the psychological effect alone on the children is something that we need to look at. But, there's no need crying over spilt milk. I think the most important thing is to find solutions. Those solutions that would help us move this situation forward, and hopefully next year we don't face it again. Because it can be very frustrating for wards. 5,000 people at the Black Star Square because we haven't been able to streamline admissions. That is something difficult to take. But I believe we're in a country where all of us need to help. It's not a question of pointing fingers. It's a question of seeing what you can do as an individual to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And some of the ways we say it, to be sitting on such a platform and to be talking about it and offering certain solutions whereby we can better the system. That system needs to be bettered. If we're bringing in new software, and mind you, with the introduction of free SHS, it's even going to be more next year. If we're bringing in anything new, introducing anything new, let's try and do it early. Let's try and test the system.
This one was done in 2018. I would imagine that it would have been tested and tried and tested again.
On when in 20...
If I may correct this.
You didn't ask me for my time.
I beg you. Just a minute, I beg you. I'm sorry. What I wanted to say was, it's not been tested on such a scale. And I think that's true.
And that should have been anticipated. That's the point that we're trying to make.
The anticipation is there, no problem. But I'm trying to correct the impression that it should have been tested and tested. It was tested, but on this scale. You can never have this kind of test. Let's be realistic with ourselves.
But Nana, we should have anticipated it because of the introduction of free SHS.
And we know the numbers, that are right in the PC, the numbers that will pass, and the numbers that need to be placed.
All I'm trying to say is that let's get it right. I just don't want the impression to be created that it wasn't tested. It was tested several times. However, the kind of numbers that we are looking at, you couldn't generate that sort of numbers to test the system. That's all I want us to underline.
You see, Bantam, I think we've gotten to a stage where communication needs to be effective so that people understand. I believe if we're going to change such a system in terms of this software, let's let the people know. Minister of Education come out a year before and say, look, because of the free SHS, because of the multitude of students, we are bringing in a new system. This is what the system is supposed to be doing. We are testing it and continuously communicate with the people so that they understand. When you get to a point like this, where the system fails, people find it difficult to understand how the system has failed, and they don't know exactly what brought us or brought them to that particular point. And so communication is key in so many things we do. especially when it's got to do with people. Could you imagine if last year, and before Nana came intercepted, we don't know what time this software came in. Did it come in January? Did it come in July? Did it come in December? We don't know. But let's take it that it came in January. Inform people. Ministry of Education has brought in new software to cater for the placement. This is what the software does. This is how we anticipate it to do. This is how we feel it could help solve some of the challenges we've had in the past. And then you can even come and sit on TV and show people how the system should work. It helps.
Yeah.
So communication is key in everything we do, especially with this type of thing. Okay. Well, it has happened. Let's see how best we can bring this thing to a close. And hopefully, those who have chosen the schools that they want to go to would get, especially, and I'm not trying to say some are better than others, but especially those students who have got ace grades. You can't go and throw them in a school in the north where facilities are not there. Because what you need to do, you need to enhance that intelligence to make sure that you can get the best out of the person, because in the end, where does that person come? They come to help the country develop. So it's important.
Okay. Let's deal with this very last issue before I wrap up. We've got just about 8 minutes more to go. Mr. Janto, I would want you to address it because let me go to the story and how the story captures it. The story says that energy expert Kwame Jantua has said that 51% PDS stake given to AGI to collate Ghanaian businesses to buy has been diverted. According to Jantua, who is a former vice chairman of PIAC, the 51% shares which President Akufo-Addo ordered be given to AGI to mobilize local businesses to acquire was diverted to Enterprise Insurance, a company owned by Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. And you are quoted as saying, Mr. Jantua, I am waiting to hear the 51% side of PDS. I'm waiting for somebody to come and tell me how did that 51% move from AGI, which the president instructed should be taken to AGI for AGI to collate businesses to buy those shares. How did it move Enterprise? I am waiting for that, and let's see how the president will act when that happens. He told Francis Aban on Morning Star last Friday.
Okay.
Can you explain this for us?
Okay. First thing, nowhere in what you've read did I use the word divert to start off with. Now, in terms of the content, perhaps the passion and exuberance of the interview made me use Enterprise as a body. But let's face it, Enterprise is not in the list of local content companies. And on that score, I apologize for that. However, what I was trying to do was trying to infer influence and possibly conflict of interest situations. What was my thinking? My thinking was that when you look at the board chair of ECG, he is Enterprise. He's a board chair of, he's a chairman of Enterprise. If you look at CEO of Enterprise, if you look at MIDA, the chairman of MIDA, he comes out of Enterprise. If you look at the finance minister himself, he owns Enterprise. So I was inferring and I was asking the question. And apart from that, is it true? Is it true? I asked, is this true that the insurance that covers ECG has been moved from the National Insurance Company to Enterprise? And so my mind was inferring and asking the questions. Is this true? Is it so? Do we not need to ask? Because in the beginning of this entire process, some of us have been in it from day one. When the unions were kicking against government, some of us stepped in. to try and manage the situation. We had meetings at Flagstaff House with the vice president. We went to see the president, all that. And I vividly, and how I even got in was based on this particular AGI situation, where some of us went and said, when the NDC signed this thing, they gave the local content to be 20%. ECG is a strategic establishment for the country. Why is it 20%? And the president, in his own wisdom, said, okay, 51%, but AGI should form this. And at that point, nobody said anything to some of us that AGI couldn't do it. There were challenges. And nobody also said to us that these are the companies that we had chosen to take over the 51%. And so I was inquiring and I was finding out. I was asking the questions. I believe, strongly believe, that any political party that's in power shouldn't be scared of its opposition. It's not the opposition that's the question. If they're going to be scared of anyone, it's the people. Because it's the people who vote for the parties in power. And so clarification and explanation is key in everything you do. And when you look at the PDS saga, you cannot only talk about the one side of it, you've got to talk about all.
Okay.
Because look, I believe the president is trying his utmost best. When he has meetings with CEOs and tells them that I'm not going to stand for any nonsense, I should believe that he's trying his best.
All right.
But if the lieutenants around him who was chosen are not being able to do their best,
okay,
it impacts on him.
Very well. Thank you for clarifying that. Nana Dawa, do you have anything to say in this regard? Very briefly.
I'm
very
being
briefly.
tempted to
very briefly
use what the lawyers and the judges say that I have nothing useful to add. Just to say that thank you very much for that clarification. You see, when matters happen, let us not begin to go into conjecture. Let's look at the facts. Let's look at what the issues are and deal with it the way it is.
I'm not conjecturing, Nana.
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm speaking generally to Ghana. This whole PDS issue, very simple, very straightforward. You've had political opposition weigh in. You've had people come up with various theories, all of them unsubstantiated. Yet still, people are seeking to make political out of it. So they are confusing the matter, throwing all sorts of things. Think about just one thing. If indeed it is true that the finance minister owns PDS or has shares in PDS or whatever, it is this same finance minister who said, no, there's a problem with their guarantee, and so hand over the assets back to the state. If indeed it is true that this individual who is said to have been, had his hand so deep in PDS, and assets that, if the conjecture is to be believed, has been bought and owned by him, why then would he put the interest of the state beyond his personal interest? Then that's the kind of finance minister you want. If indeed it was to have been true, then that's the kind of finance minister that we should have all wanted in this country. But thanks to the conjecture, thanks to the political point scoring, thanks to all of that, the matter has been so confused in the public domain that now, when I said sometimes, it becomes an issue as to how to answer all of these questions. But in due course, we'll answer all of these things and deal with the matter.
Very well.
And
thank you very much.
Sorry, before you end,
yes,
please, Ghanaians, I haven't gone to sit with John Mahama. I haven't taken money from anybody. I haven't
taking money from John Mahama.
I've gone to John Mahama's house. I've taken money from him.
By the way.
For what?
Anyway.
I don't need that kind of thing.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kwame Jantua, you heard speak there. Like I've been telling you, is chairman for AGI Oil and Gas Sector, also member of the member of the CPP. Nana Damwa is a member of the NPP and also in charge of communications for the Energy Ministry. And this is where we're wrapping up the breakfast review. But there's still more to come here on the show. I mentioned that the Ghana Army Week is coming up, and I'm doing the show today with Major Senna. And she's coming up next with the majors, with the other Army gurus, and they're going to have a discussion on some of the things that you can expect from them during the Ghana Army Week. But before we do that, though, we've got a special documentary about the Ghana Army for you. Take a look at it.
We call this the Dawn.
Prior to 1957, Ghana's colonial masters, the British, maintained military units to safeguard